Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We are back again with more Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. We have finally finished all 25 base classes, so now it's time to dig into the prestige classes. We will keep the same ranking system, but for these classes it won't count so much against them if they are only good for dips. Unless you are playing as a legend, sinking 10 levels into a prestige class oftentimes just doesn't make sense. In addition, many of these classes are completely unique, so we review them in their entirety as opposed to the subclasses where we only reviewed their differences with the main class. To make this process manageable, I'll probably rank 2 or 3 of these classes at a time per video. If I reference mechanics from a base class that you are unfamiliar with, there is a link in the description for my 25 base class mechanics video that will provide more information. Alright, with that out of the way, let's kick things off with Aldori Swordlord. To select this class, you need a handful of skills: dueling sword proficiency, dazzling display, and weapon-focused dueling sword. The easiest way to get this class is using the fighter subclass Aldori Defender, which already gets a ton of feats and receives proficiency in dueling swords automatically. The earliest you can pick this class up is level 5. Right off the back you get Death Strike, which lets you add your dexterity bonus to damage rolls made with a dueling sword. Dueling swords are heavy blades, but you can still use weapon finesse with them, so your dexterity will count for attack rolls instead of strength. Technically, if you are using this playstyle, then Death Strike is useful. The issue is that dueling swords in Wrath of the Righteous are significantly worse than they were in Kingmaker. If you are playing with a class that benefits from using a one-handed light weapon, like Magus for example, then it would behoove you to choose a different weapon. If that doesn't deter you, then you are probably going this route for thematic reasons, and more than likely your main class is Aldori Defender. That class makes it easy to get the Slash and Grace feat, which does the same thing as Death Strike. If you play as a human, you can even get it at level 1 with the bonus feat. Having that extra damage during the hardest parts of the game is really useful, so I don't think it makes sense to deal with subpar damage for 4 levels just to save a feat. Bottom line, Death Strike is most likely not useful for you. At level 10, you get Display Weapon Prowess, which adds half your class level to persuasion checks made to intimidate. Most of the time when you play an intimidation build, you would build up strength and take intimidating prowess, which adds your strength modifier to intimidation checks. Display Weapon Prowess makes it more feasible to play an intimidation build even if you focus on dexterity. It will also add +1 to your intimidation checks for each feat you have out of a specific list. Most of these feats are fantastic and you'll definitely want to pick them up, but most of them require you to play a fighter, or most likely an Aldori Defender. To get all of these feats, you would need at least 12 fighter levels, which prevents you from maxing out Aldori Swordlord unless you are a legend. At level 3, you get Defensive Parry, which functions just like Defensive Parry from Aldori Defender and stacks with that mechanic as well. At level 7, you get a +1 to the AC bonus for this mechanic. +2 to AC isn't breaking the bank, but it's still nice to have. At level 4, you get Adaptive Tactics, which reduces the attack roll penalty for fighting defensively by up to 2. You should be fighting defensively constantly, so this is fantastic. In addition, anytime a creature attacks you for the first time, you can perform a perception check that scales off your base attack bonus. Success will provide you a +2 circumstance bonus on attack rolls and AC against that creature until the end of combat. Your base attack bonus increases at a high rate, so you can actually pass these checks semi-consistently and get a nice buff in the process. Starting at level 5, anytime you successfully sunder an enemy, disarm it, or complete a critical hit against it, you can automatically perform a demoralize attempt as a free action. If the target is already shaken, you can attempt to demoralize it more, and if successful, the target takes a -1 penalty to attack rolls and saving throws, along with losing all morale bonuses to those checks. At level 10, the penalty increases to -2, and the target loses all insight and competence bonuses to those checks as well, which altogether on some bosses would be a brutal debuff. More than likely, someone on your squad is getting Frightening Aspect at level 15, which will automatically shake all nearby enemies and help cause this debuff to trigger on a regular basis. Very nice stuff, and makes it even more impactful when you hit with a critical. Starting at level 6, you have a 25% chance to deflect critical hits, which will make them do normal damage, and that chance increases to 50% at level 9. Obviously, this ability makes you more tanky. At level 7, you do not provoke attacks of opportunity when standing up from being knocked prone. Playing on core, this was not a common circumstance, so I don't believe this ability is all that useful. Bottom line, I rank this class a D. It's really only useful if you are playing as an Aldori defender, and even then, you really need to take Legend to get the most out of this. That's too small a window for me to rank it any higher, but in that specific situation, this class is a stellar addition to your build. I'll leave a link in the description for my Blade build that combined this class, Aldori Defender, and Duelist. Next on the list we have Arcane Trickster. To select this class, you need ranks in 4 different skills, and you must be able to cast 2nd level arcane spells. The easiest way to get this is using a class that is an arcane caster and gets a lot of skills, such as Eldritch Scoundrel, Witch, or Wizard, but really any arcane caster can pick this up. The earliest you can get this class is level 5. At level 1, you get arcane spellcasting, which allows you to continue gaining spells in your base class while you gain prestige class levels in Arcane Trickster. This is a must-have considering the types of classes you must play in order to pick this prestige class up. You also get ranged Legerdemain, which lets you pick up traps at range, albeit with an increase to the skill check DC. This ability is by no means necessary, but it is super cool to have this floating green hand pick up distant traps for you. Many traps are placed in a way that requires you to access them on roundabout paths, so this ability lets you clear areas faster as well. Since you continue gaining spell levels, this can be a nice 1-level dip for magic classes that don't have a great capstone ability. Starting at level 2, you get 5 ranks of sneak attack damage. Any spell that rolls to attack, such as Scorching Ray or Hellfire Ray, are capable of dealing sneak attack damage. Spells that allow enemies to save in order to halve the damage, such as Fireball, are not capable of dealing sneak attack damage. There's one exception to that we'll cover at level 10. Sneak attack is fantastic, and coupling it with full casters such as sorcerers will allow you to do insane amounts of damage, but there is a catch. The meta magic feat Bolster will allow you to do similar and sometimes even more damage than what you get from sneak attack, and it's significantly cheaper to get than 10 ranks of Arcane Trickster. At level 3, you get impromptu sneak attack, which lets you enter a stance that removes an enemy's dexterity bonus to AC when you target them with a sneak attack. In my opinion, this isn't as great as it sounds, because the penalty only applies to your attacks, and more than likely you are playing as a blaster who is doing ranged touch attacks. Touch AC is the lowest AC enemies have, even when you are facing bosses. I can't think of a single time during my core blaster playthrough that I wished an enemy had lower dexterity so my touch attacks would succeed. This sounds good, but unless you are playing on an extreme difficulty, it's not very useful. At level 9, you can use Greater Invisibility as a free action for a number of rounds equal to your Arcane Trickster level. This will definitely help you hit sneak attacks, so its addition is welcome here. Finally, at level 10, you can add sneak attack damage to any spell that deals damage if the targets are flat-footed. Catching targets flat-footed is not very difficult since most fights let you attack first as long as you approach carefully. The issue is that again, most classes picking this up are blasters, who gain nothing from this ability. The only way it makes sense to pick this up for your area of effect spells is if you are a legend and have 10 levels to burn on this prestige class. Consequently, for the most part, this ability is useless. I give this class a C. It's definitely cool, and there's a nostalgia factor here since it was so great in Kingmaker, but there are just better options in Wrath of the Righteous. Alright, the last prestige class we review is Assassin. The only thing you need to get this class is 5 ranks in Stealth. It's by far the easiest prestige class to obtain, which is your first indication that it is pure trash. At level 1, you get Poison Use, which lets you, with a move action, place poison on a weapon that will do attribute damage if enemies are unable to pass a DC. As your levels increase, this poison can last longer, impact more attributes, and be activated with a swift action instead of a move action. All of this is irrelevant because a huge portion of the enemies you face in this game are immune to poison. Unfortunately, poison is not listed under the mythic ability Ascendant element, and the game provides no way for you to bypass these immunities. That essentially makes this ability useless. You also get 5 ranks of sneak attack damage. More damage is always nice, so this is welcome. You get a death attack as well, but as I've mentioned several times before, these are mediocre because most times you won't be able to get the DC up high enough to impact the enemies you really want to take out. Assassins also come with their own list of proficiencies, but none of them are impressive, and it's doubtful they would change your build. At level 2, you get Uncanny Dodge, which definitely makes this class more tanky. You also get 5 ranks of bonus saves against poison, which is irrelevant because early in the game, your party will almost certainly get access to a spell that provides complete immunity to poison for a long time. Finally, at level 8, you gain the ability to use the stealth skill even while being observed. This will be somewhat useful until you gain regular access to greater invisibility, which is the superior option since you can attack and stay invisible. Overall, I rank this class an F-. This and Imitator are locked in a duel for the bottom spot. That wraps up my rankings for part 1 of our Prestige classes overview. In summary, I rank Aldori Swordlord D, Arcane Trickster C, and Assassin F. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.